what violations which our aircrafts commits and finally face such penalties?
What is the most important thing?
Please.
Is HR. The quality of the HR.
Human resource.
Human resource. Follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
The book. Strictly.
Just stick to the book. It should be a second nature.
Then if these things are followed, Karachi incident type may not occur again.
It may not have, because that was a pilot error. Investigation.
It was a pilot's error. Despite these all things, do you think PIA has a future to survive?
Mateen sahab, let me give you my views on honesty.
Please.
It is not the job of the government to run organizations like industries.
So you are indicating privatization.
I am not only indicating privatization. We have to mentally cross the barriers and acknowledge private sector is the engine of growth.
What could be done so that we can boost our aviation sector?
Aviation industry world over makes very significant contribution in GDP.
To the economy, to the GDP, exactly.
Aviation industry is very sensitive, very important, and needs attention.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, a very good news for Pakistan that almost after a gap of 3.5 years approximately, Pakistan's state-owned Pakistan International Airlines finally got permission by the European authorities to fly to different European destinations. Almost 3.5 years ago, PIA was suspended from flying into various European destinations due to multiple reasons. And one of the reasons was at that time, the then aviation minister, Mr. Serber, had announced that the pilots who are not part of even PIA, who are flying other jets, possess fake certifications and licenses. That made a global news. And on the basis of this disclosure by the then sitting aviation minister, many of the Pakistani pilots who were flying different airlines, they also got suspended, and Pakistan International Airlines entry into the Europe was closed. PIA used to have very good route Islamabad to London, that also got closed. So along with this, what actually happened? Did Pakistani aviation authorities improved its aviation standards, particularly the Europeans, who used to be concerned about safety protocols? What are these safety protocols? Whether these safety protocols have been adopted? And before this particular announcement, the lifting of the ban on PIA, number of times Europeans, British officials have visited Pakistan. They themselves have inspected safety protocols at Pakistan airports, condition of Pakistani aircrafts. Then associated with this, Pakistan's aviation policy, challenges in aviation sector. Aviation sector is one of the key sector which runs the economy, and that boosts the tourism as well. To discuss these all things, associated topics, we are fortunate to have with us in our studios Air Marshal Farhat Hussain Saab, retired, and Air Marshal Farhat Hussain Saab has served as advisor aviation to the caretaker government. That government was immediately before February 9th. And during his short stint as aviation advisor, a lot of work has been done in Pakistan's aviation sector. Air Marshal Farhat Hussain Saab, very warm welcome to Program Insight in V News English. First, tell us and comment about this great news that came after 3.5 years approximately regarding this PIA resuming its flights to different European destinations. So, has Pakistan improved its safety protocols?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Mateen sahab, for inviting me over to the function.
You're always welcome.
To your program. Getting back to the subject. PIA in Europe. I'll take you back by about 4 years. When this whole episode that you described happened, and PIA had a air crash in Karachi, and that followed by
there was an investigation.
Followed by PIA not being allowed to fly to Europe. At that time, I believe UK was also part of Europe. So Europe has an agency, EASA, which performs the regulatory functions of the entire Europe. It's a EU agency that continues to regulate all air traffic that comes into Europe, goes out of Europe, anywhere. Anything that flies in EU has to be regulated by this agency. So it's a very phenomenal. So they banned PIA from Europe. But now, after 4 years, the entire process has completed, and by the grace of God, I think it's a very good news for PIA as well as for Pakistan that the ban has been lifted.
True.
It is called TCO. It's a technical terminology for allowing airlines to fly into Europe or clearing for the road. So this would mean that Pakistan International Airlines, our national flag carrier, will get a big boost in many terms. One of the terms is it should immediately be ready to fly to European destinations.
Paris, London, Rome, Athens, Madrid.
Not London. I'll come to that. Come to that. Okay. Basically, all EU destinations are open, but our main destination PIA that you fly is Paris and few more. These are
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Yes. These are old routes of Pakistan International Airlines.
True.
And revenue generation comes from these routes.
Very good.
So I think it's this clearance alone should get PIA about a boost of about 40 billion rupees a year.
40 billion rupees a year. It's a very reasonable amount.
That's one. The second thing is it's a moral gain to the employees, a morale booster for the people,
good.
For the government. The government. And
used
for civil aviation, for civil aviation authority, for all those who have contributed are feeling very happy about it. And I think there is a need to, there's definite need to feel happy about it, but it's a very, very significant achievement. So that's as far as the PIA to Europe is concerned. Coming to
aviation protocols, safety protocols.
If you allow me, the UK part. The UK is not part of EU. They have,
anymore now.
When they separated, they have their own civil aviation authority.
True.
They clear their independent clearances given.
True.
But to my knowledge, they're about to clear. Why? Because the EU, they have same regulatory functions. So there's not a big deal to it. Probably after Christmas, there should be some good news on this also.
True.
And
from the Britain side.
From the Britain side.
Okay.
When that happens, the revenue will jump straight from about 40 to about 70 billion rupees. Because London is a very hot...
PIA will no more be depending on the government bailout package then.
That's something different. I'll come to you later.
Okay.
What I mean to say, this is the kickoff will take place in January onwards. And 70 million is a big...
but quickly, before you move on, do we have that aircrafts as well?
Okay.
Yes.
I do not have the exact serviceable aircraft numbers. When I was the aviation minister in last year, our fleet of 777s, because 777s usually go there, was 12 aircraft.
12, 777.
And I think 7 to 8 used to be serviceable.
Out of 12.
Coming plus minus here and there. At present, the 777s fly to Kuala Lumpur, Canada.
Yes.
And these are
attractive destinations.
Two destinations that we've been maintaining it throughout. Even during the period that we didn't fly to Europe. So I think they should have reasonable resources to fly to Europe and UK both.
So with the 777, as you said, that out of 12, 8 or 9 might be fully operational.
At that time it used to be, but probably when the privatization taking place, the figures used was probably 6, 7, but still it's a big good figure to
Air
fly.
Marshal Farhat Sahab, you have been aviation advisor, minister, and you might have gone into different details. What actually happens? What violations which our aircrafts commits and finally face such penalties?
Okay, basically, remember, in any organization, what is the most important thing?
Please.
Is HR, the
Is
quality of the HR.
Human resource.
Human resource, right?
This is very, very important
And
point.
Human resource, not the training of the human resource, and the culture that they follow makes a lot of difference. EASA or any other agency don't come to your offices and check everything. No, they would look at the quality
Attitude,
attitude,
performance,
what is your
working.
attitude to an observation? This is the starting point. Say, okay, when they say, okay, you are not doing this right. Okay, they will raise 20 observations. They'll not recheck all. They'll probably check 1 or 2 random, but that will speak your attitude. How do you handle the safety? So a safety-minded HR will bring lesser observations than the. So this is
Technical aspects are also taken into consideration.
This is one. Now, when you have a safety-minded HR, the aircraft maintenance is also comes out of that. So when we come to these things, I remember in 21, 22 we had this COVID issue. 23 we had this EU EASA inspection in November 23 when I was the minister, and the PIA had almost cleared it, but our other side there was some observations that are on civil aviation. So PIA and civil aviation goes together. So both have to be there passing into that side. So I think at that time there were some issues that were left over. So I think good news that we've crossed the bridge. But one more thing on this.
Please.
We do not have to feel satisfied and sit back and relax.
At the lifting of this ban.
Lifting of the ban.
What we need to do then?
We have to have a sustained flight safety emphasis and operational readiness emphasis on
flight safety. How it could be maintained?
Okay. There's a very simple thing to maintain. That, like I said, follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
The book. Strictly.
Just stick to the book. It should be a second nature.
Then if these things are followed, Karachi incident type may not occur again.
May not have, because that was a pilot error. Investigation.
It was a pilot's error.
What is pilot error? No, and this error can, it is, people can relax. People can be casual. So if after getting this 4 years of, this clearance after a period of 4 years, if we relax just because, okay, now we have achieved it, we may again hit a bottleneck. So we must stay at our best to achieve the safest possible standards of flight safety.
Safest possible standards need to be maintained. Tell us also, since as an aviation advisor, you might have seen and you talked about that rules must be followed strictly. But if these safety standards, rules are violated, why there are no punishment and penalties?
They're supposed to be very serious punishments. For instance, it is the job of the regulator, in our case, Civil Aviation Authority, to monitor the training of all aircrew of all the airlines. All pilots who hold the CA license and operate in Pakistan are subject to monitoring by the regulator. The regulator is supposed to monitor each and every crew on basic functions of flight.
Knowledge, fitness, everything, attitude, culture, everything.
Everything has to be monitored. And that is why the CA gets penalized if the airline doesn't perform well.
True.
So therefore, the CA has to be at its best. In fact, by chance, I was having some chat today with the Civil Aviation. He realizes that, in fact, he's very, very pleased to see this, but he also says it's a big challenge to maintain it.
A quick thing before we move on to challenges to the aviation industry, please share with our viewers, despite these all things, do you think PIA has a brief future to survive?
Mateen Sahib, let me give you my views on various honesty.
Please.
It is not the job of the government to run organizations like industries.
So you are indicating privatization.
I am not only indicating privatization. We have to mentally cross the barriers and acknowledge private sector is the engine of growth, not the public sector. So when you have
public sector introduce only the policies, regulations.
Private sector is the engine of growth. You must do something to encourage investment from the private sector and let them run it. You only
let the private sector run it. But private sector then introduce different policies, anti-HR policies. They are indulged in monopoly, things like that, which is... So how
Actually, when you come to the airline, if there is a private sector, they're more cautious about it. It's not like this. When an aircraft doesn't fly, let's say an aircraft gets grounded by civil aviation grounds an aircraft.
On technical reasons.
You know what it costs the private sector? Or anybody.
Or anybody, even it is the...
If it is public sector, the people don't realize the damage because they get their pay.
True.
The private sector will penalize somebody who's caused this.
It costs huge.
Yes. You know, what is the earning of per aircraft? It is 800 million rupees a month.
800 million revenue. 800 million
yes. C-20 gets you 800 million. A Boeing 777 gets you 1.2 billion. So who can afford it? A grounding of an aircraft.
True.
So they will put in everything. So private sector will give you a better output than a public sector. World over, the private sector.
So PIA has a brighter future.
Surely, if it gets privatized, but properly privatized, not a handle of the government. In that privatization.
True.
It should be purely privatized.
Coming now to this aviation policy, Pakistan, despite best tourist destination, we are far behind in getting foreign airlines into Pakistan. There was a time airlines from Far East Asia, from Central Asia, from Europe, these airlines used to come to Pakistan. So, but if we see... even PIA is banned and fewer foreign airlines are operating, particularly from the western route, because there is a large number of Pakistani travelers who travel to Europe, to United Kingdom and to United States. Although United States passengers do travel via Gulf, we are attracting some of the Gulf airline. So we have seen the countries which are much smaller in size than Pakistan, but aviation sector is booming. So what could be done so that we can boost our aviation sector? There should be airports, should be busy, flights, operations. That is also necessary for economy.
Mateen Haider, let me strengthen what you said.
Please.
Aviation industry world over makes very significant contribution in GDP.
To the economy, to the GDP, exactly.
If my figures are correct, approximately, Qatar has about 6% of GDP coming from the aviation industry, which is small country.
6%?
Yes. UAE has probably more than 10% or so. And India is touching 5.7 or say. 5.7% of the GDP. And I think China is also there. So this is a very significant part of the GDP when you come to... I'm not talking of the airline industry. I'm talking of the aviation industry. So that's what... so we have to have aviation industry growing in a fashion that starts to contribute to Pakistan's economy is not aviation dependent, or if you allow me to put it the other way, the aviation doesn't contribute much to the national growth. It's very small.
Due to certain...
Well, like I said, aviation industry is very sensitive, very important, and needs attention.
Needs attention.
Need attention.
Aviation sector.
And a number of factors. First of all, our aviation is not being run by the specialists.
This is a very important point you are highlighting. Our aviation is not being run by the specialist.
Mostly, yes, there are a lot of good people in it. So we have to have a merit-based aviation regulators who should be purely from the professional background.
With aviation background.
With aviation background. Secondly, we need to analyze the issues. And if you allow me, I did that work when I was minister. What is the baseline of, like I told you earlier, HR makes the difference. What is HR? Pilots, technicians, engineers. Three things. Our institutions that create HR are very, very average.
Are very average.
Very, very average. And I'll give you a comparison. By 2034, the region would need 80,000 pilots.
By 2034, this region needs
80,000 pilots. From where will they come? From these training institutions.
Exactly.
So your training institutions have to be good and at par with the requirement.
Do we have that training institution?
I'll come to that.
Please.
Okay. Now, India is producing, knowing this, they're producing about 1,200 pilots per year.
How many?
1,200 pilots.
1,200 pilots per year.
Now, imagine 2030 multiplied by...
What is ratio in Pakistan?
It's not even 100.
It's not even 100.
Not even 100. Why? That's so when, and those who are produced by the system are not of the level that can get selected into top of the line airlines.
Exactly.
Our own airlines are elected to induct the fresh graduates. Why? Because they're not experienced. Second, so what is the wrong? Same is the case with engineers.
True.
The sources that produce engineers are also more or less the same, and technicians. So what happened? Where are these
fault lines?
Where are these people produced from?
Yes,
that's the
exactly.
issue. That is general aviation. It's part of the aviation called general aviation, which consists of flying clubs.
Okay, these flying clubs. Ultimately
one of
produce.
the factors is flying club, other is chartered flights and all that. So these flying clubs are nurseries of training, right? We have damaged this basic system of
flying
training,
culture of flying clubs.
Our culture that we have, if you look at average aircraft age must be at least 25 to 30 years.
True.
In our flying clubs. Whereas, and the cockpit is not ergonomically, it is not as good as a modern aircraft should have. So therefore, the training suffers.
True.
And then it doesn't have that attention of various people, those who matter. Now, doing business in Pakistan is anyway very difficult. So doing aviation business is even more difficult. You can imagine, if somebody, our average flying club should at least have about 2 to 3 two-seater aircraft, and maybe plus minus something are dual engine aircraft. True. Single engine and dual engine training. We are one, our resources are less. Secondly, they're not well looked after. They're not being supported by any organization to. For instance, I've always been of the opinion, I tried that, that pull up about 5 billion rupees.
5 million rupees.
Billion rupees, which the Civil Aviation Authority has. And spend this money, give it to the flying club owners on loan. Okay. Give them about 10 crore each. They will have brand new aircraft. They're top of the line aircraft. They'll produce better
with
pilots.
an international training, exactly. Better
so
training.
The quality of training has to be increased. This is number one.
True.
The quality of training will come from good standards that the regulator has to ensure. Third thing is the quality of the equipment that you fly or
that
maintain also has to be of the latest standard. Our aircraft that are used in training are not the aircraft that we should have. And it is not possible because since doing business in aviation is not too easy, so therefore people do not invest in it. So my formula is the government should give this on loan and get it returned back in per hour cost. Or what has happened is, now the other thing that has happened in training is our training costs have gone very high.
Training costs is
very high. Flying per hour cost is in excess of 50,000 rupees.
50,000
rupees per hour on these aircraft that are not even worth competing.
True.
Okay. Now this 50,000, you need at least 200 hours to get the first license.
So where the amount will go? I mean, fee. It is goes into the millions.
This million. Okay. Can an average Pakistani afford it? अगर वो अफोर्ड करेगा तो कोई जमीन बेच के आएगा या कुछ बेच के आएगा, इतनी इनकम तो नहीं. So this stays the exclusive domain of
few who are having monopoly, right? Exactly.
And those who have money, they can get training
elite
abroad.
Class.
So therefore, to make it a normal job in Pakistan, we need to support the flying clubs through various means. Financial one, then they need to be regulatory control needs to be there. And then what is missing, probably in my experience, the regulator or the policy maker and the owners of the industry do not work on the same frequency.
Do not work on the same
not
frequency.
On the same frequency. I have yet to find a flying club owner appreciating that they are being looked after. For instance, there are not many people who want to invest in it. One. And the second thing that has happened to our industry, this is the basic fault I'm trying to, this is the fault line, is this Walton closure at Lahore. Walton had about 6 flying clubs and the only one aircraft manufacturing industry. Now, uprooting this airfield, we've managed to close it very successfully. And what have we done?
What are the consequences?
Okay, consequences, they're not flying. You'll be surprised. I'll give you figures which are, of course, my tenure type. We used to fly before COVID about 39,000 or 40,000 flying hours in the flying clubs. And 23 end, it was down to 24, 23, 24.
From 39.
We are actually at below 30% of our capacity in terms of pilot production. So if we do not improve this, we will have foreign pilots flying our airlines in times to come. So we have to concentrate on general flying in terms of aircraft, in terms of equipment, in terms of pilots and engineers.
Air Marshal Farhat Sahab, every government talks about foreign direct investment, and that foreign direct investment is of different type, different kinds. There are so many airlines from the region, Far Eastern countries, then Southeast Asia, then Central Asia. There's so many airlines from different countries which wanted to come to Pakistan. But procedures of getting NOCs is so lengthy. It takes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So your thoughts on this? What is the reason that why we are so reluctant in giving an NOC to a foreign airline which wanted to come and operate from Pakistan?
Actually, foreign airlines want to come on their own terms.
On their own terms.
We declared this so-called policy of open sky sometimes back.
Yes, there was an open sky policy.
This open sky policy has done a lot of damage to our aviation industry. What did we do?
It was the government open sky policy.
But declaring policy is something different, application is different. Open sky policy is more than welcome, but must be on the basis of equal reciprocal arrangement. For instance, if an airline wants to come to Pakistan, they should allow our airline also to go there.
Exactly, to that country.
You can't restrict your own airline to fly domestically.
When British Airways came to Pakistan, so Pakistani PIA was banned. Exactly.
So what I mean to say is, domestic flights are not attractive enough for any businessman.
International flights. Foreign flights.
So the aircraft earns when it flies. For instance, we'll take off from Islamabad, go to Karachi, 1.5 ghante mein land, which is sorry, so what will earn. But if the aircraft doesn't land in Karachi and continues to fly another 3 hours, that is where it will generate revenue. So longer flights generate revenue. So when you want to allow others, you need to. But unfortunately, our own industry did not grow. So what happened as of today? You just said that foreign airlines. Yes, foreign airlines are not coming because of the security situation also.
True.
But foreign airlines have taken over our skies.
Foreign airlines have taken over skies.
Just Karachi traffic. It's huge. Karachi is a big city. And 90%, almost 90%, I'm not very sure of the figures, but around that, of the 90% of the Karachi traffic is not with Pakistani Airlines.
It's all foreign.
It's all foreign airlines. So the foreign airlines operate, they are not operating in reciprocal terms. They are hugely in our traffic. They want to shadow our industry. Our industry is one of the reasons for our industry not to grow is this. That we've allowed far too many. You're talking of these 2-3 airlines, they are because of security reasons. They was not because of... otherwise, we've given more than due share to the foreign airlines.
So do you think this open sky policy need to be revisited?
The policy need to be revisited. For application of the policy, we must have even rules.
Even
if
rules.
If you allow, I will not mention the airline. I remember we had a route being requested by one of our Pakistan Airlines. It was not allowed for quite some time. Maybe 1 year they kept flying. But on the other hand, we were allowing people.
Their people are their flights.
At this time, you count.
Even policy.
You just see at this time how many airlines are coming to Pakistan and what is the percentage of traffic. South is more or less with foreign airlines. North, yes, our own airline is effective. Center is 50-50 almost.
Yes, center of Pakistan.
That's Faisalabad, Multan, and all these areas.
So finally, tell us about way forward, how we can have a best aviation policy sector where foreign airlines coming into Pakistan, Pakistani airlines operating to different countries. I mean, more vibrant open sky policy, future of aviation sector in Pakistan.
Like I said, first of all, we need to get serious about it, that it is a major factor that can contribute to the national economy. Then get the professionals handle it. Then respect the private sector airlines. They must be respected.
Private airlines.
Our own airlines. Respected means you must help them. It must pinch the regulator as much as it should pinch the airline owner when an aircraft doesn't fly. So they must be supporting, not just pushing them and downing them. So the regulatory bodies are always internationally, they are in support role. While they check you, they provide you solutions also. So therefore, there is a need to be respectful and encourage them and help them. So and then concentrate on this basic fault that I said of the flying clubs. There is a
which are the training nurseries, as you said.
There is a need to bring in more aircraft. There is a need to probably green aircraft are available. There is a need to bring in more equipment. There is a need to train better, do better training. And when you start to do better training, the government will have to then move forward to accommodate these pilots also
True.
will get. So when people graduate from these schools, they must get jobs also. So these are some of the policies are policy. I'm sorry, are not too industry friendly.
Policies are not
imagine
industry
till
friendly.
today, our aviation industry is not industry officially. It needs to be declared as an industry.
It needs to be declared. It is yet to be declared as an industry.
And the advantages of many, then the banks and the loaners and the donors start to help, give you loan at lower rates, and the airlines start to benefit out of this. Our airlines need to be looked after. PIA is well looked after, but the other airlines are not as well looked after.
Thank you so much indeed, Air Marshal retired Farhat Hussain Khan, former Minister, Aviation Advisor to the caretaker government. Dear viewers, he has shared some of the very insightful information into Pakistan's aviation sector. Dear viewers, we hope that the information and analysis shared by Air Marshal retired Farhat Hussain Khan about Pakistan's aviation sector would be very informative and knowledgeable for you. Till our next program, goodbye and Allah Hafiz from studios.